Hey, I'm Bree, and this is my sister Jules. I'm an English teacher.
And I can't believe we're in the season finale of season 1.
And together we drink wine as we unpack the brilliant writing of the hit 90s sitcom, Boy Meets World. Cheers!
Clink!
What are we drinking?
Oh, we're drinking a good one today. I have a colleague on my team who makes a lot of his own food, and he has a lot of hobbies and interests. And one of the things that he's interested in is making mead. So we are enjoying one of his meads today. This one is called Purple Power. It is made with wild blackberries that I believe he handpicked himself. He foraged for his own berries to make this. Hibiscus tea, lavender, lemon, blackberry honey, and champagne yeast.
Haven't tried it yet. I can't wait to try it. Oh, it smells good. It smells.
Did you just see that? I just went to go sniff this and I sniffed the mic instead. I promise I'm sober.
Oh, yeah.
I told you.
That's
it's
really good.
Yes. So I actually I got the opportunity to taste this a couple weeks ago with him. His name is Roy Black, everyone. Kudos to him. He makes a great mead. I got to try it and it was delicious. And I said, I review wines, right, on a podcast. And he was like, here you go. He gave me his extra bottle. He was like, go review it. So what do you think?
It's delicious. And this is perfect for 1 in the afternoon.
Yes.
It's such a good morning brunch. Like if you are like, I'm sick of mimosas, this is what you should drink instead of a mimosa for brunch.
Yes.
I think this should become the new brunch drink. You know when we would do mimosas with pomegranate juice instead of orange juice? That's what it tastes like.
Yeah, it totally does. And I think a lot of people that have had mead or think about mead, you expect it to be super sweet, but that's kind of a misconception. Yes, there are meads that are very sweet.
It's a little sweet, but it's good sweet.
It's a good sweet. It's very mild. They can be dry or semi-dry.
Mm-hmm. No, this is delicious. It's so fresh. It tastes so clean to me, I guess, because he foraged everything.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit more about mead. It's essentially a honey wine. So regular wines are made by fermenting grapes. Mead is made by fermenting honey. So pretty much the same process, just different ingredients. So it produces a sweeter flavor.
It's delicious. Mm-hmm. And we had decided we were going to use this mead for the finale of the podcast, not knowing anything about the last episode. And we were both watching the final episode, and we were like, are you kidding me? They mention mead in the episode.
Yeah.
What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
Why would mead ever come up in a Boy Meets World episode? But sure enough, there's a reference to Beowulf in this episode, which English teacher, I was like, okay, here we go, Beowulf. But I completely did not expect Minkus to say the mead hall.
Yeah.
I was like,
hall.
oh my God, we're drinking mead for the mead episode.
Yeah. I knew it right away because the first time I heard about mead was watching Beowulf, the movie from, 2006.
Oh my God.
And there's a whole scene with mead, and I was like, what the hell is mead?
It's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's mead to be.
The earliest archaeological evidence of mead production dates back at least 7,000 BC.
Whoa.
Which is a super long time ago, but it's likely that it's been around since before pre-recorded history.
Cool. Well, let's get into the episode. So we watched the finale of season 1, episode 22, entitled I Dream of Feeny. Corey freaks out when he thinks that he got Mr. Feeny sick by wishing that he would fall ill. The air date was May 13th, 1994. It was written by a new writer who didn't write any other episode in the entire series. So it was written by Mark Fink. It was directed by David Traynor. There were 16.3 viewers.
I liked this one as a season 1 finale because I feel like this whole season has been Corey's journey to learning about the world, and it was Feeny's lessons that were prevalent throughout. So it was a great episode to kind of show what would it be like if Feeny wasn't around, right? That's kind of the final lesson, right? To learn how important education is and how important he is. Because it's easy to write him off as like, oh, he's so boring, I'm not learning anything. But with the fear of him being gone, he realizes how important he actually is. And that's beautiful.
Completely agree. I got emotional in the last scene. Corey and Feeny are in the hospital. And when Corey goes to leave, he says to Feeny, like he gives him a very heartfelt thank you. And Feeny says, for what? And Corey says, I'm not sure yet.
Cue the horns and the strings.
Horns and strings. And I fully got emotional because, of course, it's like a dream that your students could, in this moment, understand the importance of what you're teaching them, but it's just life doesn't work like that, right? But it reminded me of the moment, the episode with the silver boxing gloves, when he said something similar to his dad, where he gives the gloves back to his dad, and he says, "Give them to me on the most important day of my life." And his dad says, "Well, how will I know when that will be, or when will that be?" And Corey says, "The day you give them to me." And it, like, oh God, it's totally unrealistic. Like, it's not realistic for a child to have that kind of wisdom, but I'm looking at it through a writing lens. And so it's so deeply beautiful to me that these adult writers have this is the beauty of fiction writing. Like, they have the ability to have a child be as wise as they wish they could have been at that age. You know, and so and that's the healing power of writing for me. And so to be able to write a kid who could be what I couldn't be at that age is just, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so that was like one thing I loved in terms of the first impression. My other first impression was I felt like this episode was the plot that should have been happening when they were doing the Telltale Heart references, because it was all about Corey's guilt haunting him, and I just didn't, that doesn't coincide with Beowulf.
Beowulf felt just placed in there. Like, I didn't even think about a connection.
Right.
Can you get a connection there? Because I didn't read it.
No, but I am like an English teacher who has never read Beowulf, so I'm embarrassed about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, I saw the movie, but I was like 10, so.
Well, all the other teachers that I work with, not all of them, but a lot of them do teach Beowulf and have taught it for years. And my like AP Lit teacher would like often reference Beowulf. And like, I do know one of my favorite fun facts. I don't know if this is true. Now I'm like, I need to look this up. But my understanding is that in video games, you know how they would call the big final monster the mother?
Yeah.
That's like a Beowulf reference. Oh. Or like Beowulf kind of is like the origin of that.
Of mother. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Definitely an emotional episode. I feel that the writers are I think they're only going to get better from here. I think they're playing around with the themes and messages and the literary references, and it hasn't quite clicked, but it's definitely clicking along. Like, it's a great show.
Yeah, there's something is being pulled together, and it's very excited. I'm very excited for season 2. I do have a question. Have you ever had those moments as a teacher in school where you're like, you would miss me if I was dead?
There's a lot of emotional intelligence at my school. The teachers and the students are all very emotionally intelligent. And I actually do sense a lot that they are aware of how much they would miss me if I was gone. Some of them know, some of them really don't care. And that's okay. Not everyone's going to like you, period, in any facet of your life. But no, it's cute. Like, a lot of the kids are very sweet and are, vocal about caring about
appreciating you,
their teachers, and about me. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful place. I do love my school. Do you feel like at your job, you're like, you would miss me if I was dead? You don't know how much I do.
No, in fact, I can't feel that way in the type of work that I do, because, everybody's expendable. Let's be real. I know. Isn't that, I mean,
that's so sad.
Yeah. I mean, obviously teams do better when, they like working with one another, and I don't want to lose any of my team members, but at the end of the day, a business is going to run the way it runs, and it's kind of out of our individual hands. So yikes. I can only get so attached.
Well, you make more money than me, so. All right, let's get into it. We start off in the kitchen, and Corey and Sean are making a smoothie. I don't really understand how this is.
Who was that for, and what was that for? Is it just one of Sean's like concoctions? He's like, I need to do this. I feel some type of way right now. I have to do this thing.
Clearly,
they didn't even peel the banana. I was very stressed out about that smoothie.
It seemed like they just were kids who had just watched Rocky, and they were like, it's time to make a smoothie now.
So something kids would do.
Right.
And I feel like that's something we would do, like with our obsessions with food specifically. We watch something that has something that looks really good, and we're like, we need to have it immediately. Mm-hmm. We will go to the ends of the earth to acquire that thing.
I've never connected so hard with a show in my life as when Tina Fey on 30 Rock said that she wanted to invent something where whatever food was on TV in that moment, you could have it and eat it. I was like, yes.
Well, I see a lot of people do like Lord of the Rings marathons. Well, they'll watch all of them, and it's like a 12-hour day, and they'll like eat the food that they're eating on screen throughout the day, and they do like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and all that stuff. I'm like, sounds like a perfect day.
I've seen that. I want to do that with Kung Fu Panda.
Ooh. Yes.
Yeah. Dumplings and noodles. And every time I watch Mulan, clearly I love Asian food. And whenever we watch Mulan and there's the like rice porridge with the 2 eggs and the bacon smiley
So
face,
good.
I always want it.
Oh, yeah, that looks so good.
Right?
It's something about it makes it like so unctuous looking, and I just want to.
And I always wanted sandwiches when Shaggy and Scooby were eating sandwiches.
Yes.
Like heroes.
That. Oh, we can't not mention the chicken from Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, the chicken. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wait, and you know what? I'm going to bring it all back around. And you know how when he's drinking wine out of the sitar?
Yeah.
I feel like it's mead. I feel like
It's
we're having
probably
it. We're
mead.
drinking it right now.
Scrums.
Scrums. Scrums.
Scrums.
Oh man, amazing. All right. You got your milk, you got your peanut butter, how about a banana? They put in a raw egg. Corey's like, why do we got to do a raw egg? Sean's like, Stallone drinks raw eggs. Corey's like, Stallone is 5'2". And Sean's like, and you're 2'5". Ha ha ha. And then I love Corey in this scene because he is me. He's like, hey, we're not going to make a mess. Just because we're kids with a blender doesn't mean we have to make a mess. I died because that was like a meta moment for the writers where they were like, everyone's expecting them to not put the top on and click the button for it to go everywhere because they're kids with a blender. And Corey's like, we don't have to meet those expectations. We can be better than this.
That's amazing.
And it would have been me too. I would have been like, guys, we need to put the top on.
Yep.
And Sean just goes, boy, are you mommy whipped? And he just clicks the button and it goes everywhere. And Sean's like, haha, now that I could never do at my house. And then Amy walks past the window outside so they can see her coming. And Corey's like, oh my God, my mom. Sean, back me up. I wanted to use the lid. I was lid boy. Did you notice it that time?
I finally got it.
Yes.
I finally got it.
He did it. Amy just walks in, looks at the mess, closes the door and leaves. And Corey's like, okay, fine, I'll clean it up. You don't have to scream. Me, literally me.
Yep. Yeah. You guys are the same.
We are. So they then, they don't clean it up at all. Sean's like, oh no, like talking about how it got all over his geography book, which is the segue into the big geography test that's coming up. They're talking about how it's going to be a big killer. And this is when we get Corey being like, yeah, I don't understand why we have to learn anything about geography. Why do we have to learn where everything is? I'll just be like my dad and drive around until I find it. And then so Feeny's out on his patio, like setting up a duck that becomes a metaphor for Feeny's life, because at one point later Corey is like praying for Feeny to be okay, and he like looks at the duck and the duck just falls over. So I was like, okay, maybe it's a metaphor for like Feeny's life.
I don't know that the writers were trying to get super deep with it.
Yeah, he's putting up this one of those ducks. I remembered those. You remember those? Like the wind would blow the arms around their wings.
Little windmill, yeah.
Yeah, little windmill wings. And so Sean's like, look at Feeny. He's out there hanging up some geeky duck. Not a care in the world while we're stuck in here studying for his lame test. Yeah, life's fair. So Corey's like, well, we haven't actually done any studying yet. Maybe we should get started. And Sean's like, okay, what is the capital of North Dakota?
I was so mad. Don't tell me. I know what it is. It starts with a B. I know this. Shh. My friend lives there.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It reminds me of pancake mix for some reason.
Okay. Tell me.
Bismarck.
Bismarck.
Why does that remind me? Yeah, I don't know.
Pancakes?
Because I think I'm thinking of Bisquick.
Oh, okay. Bismarck. Got it.
Bismarck. Yeah. And Corey goes, Banff.
I was going to say Bamp.
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 And Sean's like, we're toast. So they decide they're going to try to they're going to fake sick so they get out of the tests. And then Sean says, I can't. I've already used all my bogus medical excuses. Feeny says if my grandma dies one more time, he wants to see the body. Hilarious. And Corey's like, how come it has to be us? Why should we always be the ones faking a disease to get out of school? How come Feeny can't shoulder a little more responsibility? I didn't really understand the logic of that. I was like, because Feeny doesn't want to, because he wants to be in school. Like, it was just a weird writing segue into Feeny being sick. So Sean's like, dream on. I hear he hasn't missed a day of school since World War I. And Corey's like, that's just stupid on his part because teachers still get paid when they're sick. True. And Sean's like, you lie.
They were shook.
Corey's like, I swear. Minka said the school board pays them to be sick for a whole week every year. I don't get a whole week. And Sean's like, well,
I love the way he worded that. They pay you to be sick.
Sean's like, well, maybe Feeny doesn't know that. Maybe we should leave him a unanimous note on his desk. See, this is the kid who doesn't know the difference between unanimous and anonymous.
Yeah.
So why is he saying lines that are complicated sometimes?
Yeah.
Anyway. And so Corey's like, won't help us dodge that geography bullet tomorrow. And then he looks out at Feeny, who's putting up his duck, and he's like, come on, cough. And Feeny just like...
takes the most beautiful breath of fresh air.
So now we're in the classroom. Topanga is doing a headstand against the wall in the classroom. She's trying to get the blood to rush to her head to maximize concentration and cognitive performance. It's also quite a rush. Sean and Corey start talking about how nervous they are. Minkus comes over and he's like, I'm sensing an acute case of performance anxiety, no doubt brought on by a complete lack of preparation. Yeah, pretty much. And Corey's like, Minkus, you can get all the A's you want. It's still not going to make you popular. And Sean's like, that's right. This line doesn't make sense. If he doesn't know the difference between unanimous and anonymous, why does he understand what an auditor does? So he's like, that's right. I can just hear you. People. How many times do I have to tell you? If you save your receipts, you won't have to worry about an audit.
That was a really good Minkus impression.
And Sean's like, Geek Master. And then Minkus says my word of the day.
Also my word of the day.
Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Recidivist. Did you look it up?
No, I knew that word.
Oh.
Just kidding. I didn't know that word. I looked it up. But
It's a convicted criminal who reoffends, especially repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. Damn. What a diss.
That is such a good diss.
It's like not just a criminal. You're
a repeat offender. Then Miss Chase comes in. I love Miss Chase. Her energy is powerful. I would listen to every word she says.
Yeah.
Love her.
I want to take her class.
100%.
Yeah.
So Miss Chase walks in. She's like, good morning, class. I'm Miss Chase, your substitute teacher. Mr. Feeny will not be in today. He has taken ill.
I want to say that now whenever I need to take a day off from being sick.
Taken ill.
I have taken ill.
Takes a sip of mead.
I've taken ill. Prepare me the milk of the poppy.
Wait, what is that from?
It's from Game of Thrones. Whenever anybody gets like falls ill and is on their deathbed, they're prepared the milk of the poppy, and it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's opium.
Yes. Yeah. I should have asked for that when I got surgery. When I woke up from surgery, I require the milk of the poppy.
I'm loving the old references today. Okay, so Sean's like, taking ill or faking ill? I mean, the guy's never missed a day. And Corey's like, maybe he heard about the school board's great deal on sick leave. And Miss Chase is like, I'm afraid I don't have access to Mr. Feeney's lesson plan. Can somebody please fill me in on what we're going to do today? I'm sorry. I would never trust. I would be like, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, she did not believe a word that was coming out of her mouth.
No, she didn't, because she's Brill.
Brill.
So Minkus starts, of course, and he's like, Miss Chase, today we're supposed to take a And Sean interrupts and goes, a break from geography. And Corey's like, and do nothing but think about our lives and write a poem about it. And Sean goes, a short poem. And Corey's like 2, maybe 3 lines tops. And Sean's like, and it doesn't even have to rhyme.
Just 2 to 3 sentences.
Write Sean's poem now.
Oh God, no, I can't.
Do it.
About his life?
Yeah, what would he write in that class?
It would be like 2 to 3 sentences that are like totally in different ballparks, you know?
Yep.
Like.
It would be spelled wrong, all of it.
Yes.
It would be chicken scratch. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even be able to read it, and it wouldn't make sense.
And that is poetic in itself.
Ms. Chase asks, is that true? And Sean just like very carefully lets Minkus's mouth go. And Minkus just goes, yep. And Ms. Chase goes, great. My major at the University of Pennsylvania was poetry. Epic poetry. In fact, my dissertation was on Beowulf, an 8th century poem written in 3,200 lines of Old English. Let's see if we can knock out the first 1,600 before lunch, shall we? And Sean and Corey have the most dramatic scream in the entire season. Yeah, I'm embarrassed I don't have more to say about Beowulf. I've never read it.
Me neither. I know that it's Norse.
I'm failing.
And there's mead.
Y'all came for an English teacher's take, and I'm like, Beowulf's a thing. So then we get the theme song. Topanga, Sean, and Corey are in the lunchroom. And Topanga's like, I can't believe Mr. Feeny actually missed a day of school. And Corey's like, well, you know who you can thank for that, don't you? And Topanga goes, Zeus? And Corey's like, me. I wished for him to get sick, and he did. And then Topanga says, you know, karma, man. Like, what goes around comes around. Corey's like, maybe I do have some kind of strange power like the X-Men, only I have the power to make people sick. Maybe I'll call myself Sick Boy.
We got 2 in 1 episode.
In this episode. And then Minkus reveals that Feeny's in the hospital. Sean's like, the hospital? Ooh, you are good. Corey's like, me? I didn't do this. Sean's like, you wished he would get sick. And we get a scene change. We're in the living room now. Amy is writing a get well soon card for Mr. Feeny. Corey's starting to get nervous.
And we don't know what happened to him yet. We don't know why he's in the hospital.
I was wondering if Feeny somehow knew that Corey wanted him to get sick and he was messing with him. Amy is writing the note because she says it's positive thinking, and positive thinking is very powerful, and it can help someone get better if you just like wish them well. And Corey's like, are you saying maybe could that work in the opposite direction? Like if you wish someone ill, could it make them sick? Alan's like, well, that's the principle behind voodoo curses. And Corey's like, but you'd have to like go to a voodoo academy to pull that off, wouldn't you?
He's like, I can't possibly have all this power.
Your average Joe just couldn't go around like making people drop like flies, could he? And then there's just a pause. Alan looks at him like, what? And Corey's like, no reason, no interest. My lips are just moving. Words are coming out. So we're in the bedroom, and Corey tells Eric that he wished real hard for Feeny to get sick so he wouldn't have to take his geography test, and then Feeny really did get sick. But he does let Corey know that Feeny has appendicitis and that he's in the hospital getting operated on. When Eric exits, Corey like sits by the window and he's like talking to God, right? He's like praying.
Yeah, I took note of that. That was probably the first time that like there's a reference to God and like that they believe in God in this,
right?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously now watching it, I was like, oh, interesting. But at the time, I wouldn't have thought twice about that because we were raised in a Catholic household.
Yeah. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but at least for me, growing up in the church, it was in my mind, my universe, everybody was religious.
Yeah.
And everybody around me was Christian.
Right.
But I understood there were other religions. But like my circle was all Christian. So it was totally not even a second thought.
He didn't do the sign of the cross. Like he didn't get down on his knees and like put his forehead to the ground. Like there wasn't anything that was specific to any religion.
Yeah.
He just like spoke to a supreme being.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't even say the word God. Like he just started wishing and praying for something and like looking up. I probably as a kid would have been like, oh yeah, like everyone has some version of this, regardless of what their religion is. Like everyone believes in God, which obviously is not true. But as a kid, I thought that because, like you said, everyone around me was religious.
Yeah, it was part of life. It was speaking to this being,
that created you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So he says, look, I know I did not cause Mr. Feeny to get sick, but it would make me feel a heck of a lot better if you would just give me some sort of sign that he's going to be all right. And then the goose falls over.
The duck.
Sorry,
you said goose twice, and we could cut this part, but I almost started laughing because it reminded me of one of the very first TikToks I ever saw when I downloaded it. Was this guy like having a complete brain fart? He was trying to say, I saw a goose chirping over there, but he kept messing up every single word. He was like, I saw a goose gurping, a goose. It's so funny. You would die. I'll show it to you after.
Oh, okay. So then we're back in the classroom, and Miss Chase is like, yesterday we were absolutely enthralled by the first 1,600 exciting lines of Beowulf. Can anyone recap for us? Reference to mead. Minkus goes, Hrothgar, king of the Danes, on the island of Zealand, has built the mead hall Heorot for feasting his warriors, but they abandon it because of the murderous ravages of the monster Grendel. Mead.
Crazy. Because when they mentioned Beowulf, I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting that we're doing mead and they're talking about Beowulf. And then he says mead, and I'm like, oh, it's meant to be.
It's mead to be.
It's mead to be.
So Corey's like, is it just me, or does anyone else want to absolutely hurl from boredom?
Have you ever wanted to hurl from boredom?
Just to spice things up. And Miss Chase is like, do you have a problem with Beowulf? And Corey's like, yeah, my problem is nobody cares. I don't need this. When am I going to need this? No one has ever needed this. And let me make myself clear. Beowulf needed? No. And on a completely side issue, who names their baby Hrothgar?
Hrothgar.
As an English teacher who has never needed Beowulf, I'm like, yeah. I low-key hear you,
and maybe that's why they use Beowulf. Because this is so important for kids to see, because I totally was this way. A lot of like I would be very frustrated learning about like really complex things, especially like as mathematics got more complex. I'm like, there's no way that I will be using this in real life. And there's a lot of stuff I learned that I don't use at all and I will never use. And Feeny talks about this early on in the season. You don't learn things overnight. It's like a slow accumulation. It's like a slow absorption of knowledge. And this is all part of that. And like that is the lesson. That is the lesson of the whole season. And it's an important lesson for kids.
First of all, I never really felt that. I never really felt like we're not going to need this. I don't need this. I actually felt the opposite. Like I thought I was going to need it and then I never did. And then I was a little bit like salty about that.
You can't possibly use everything, right? Like every single subject you learn that you're going to focus on all of those things in your adulthood.
No, you're right. But I don't like the idea of there being all of this knowledge of the universe, of mathematics, of science, of history out there that was never exposed to me, that was never offered up to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the idea of there being this elite group of academics hoarding all of the understanding and knowledge of our universe. Like I like that. Yeah. Have I forgotten all the calculus? Absolutely. But it is accessible to me.
You're right.
Was offered it. And so it doesn't belong to only those people over there. Like I can have it. And what it showed me was like, I am capable of existing in a lot of different circles of academia and of power. It's about power. Like knowledge really is power.
You're right.
And the fact that we democratize that is really good.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think they're kind of thinking about it in the space of, I'm not going to use this in my career, which is like focused on like the living that I make, but you are going to use it in like other facets of your life, in conversations, in things you read in the news. Like you're going to have that context already existing within you because you've learned these things, and like you were given these tools in your youth. You're all the more, to your point, powerful for it.
Like, I don't know how to get to the moon, right? I don't know how to do all those math equations that got people to build bridges and build rocket ships. But I do at least have a taste of the kind of math that they are doing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it is I can conceive of what they're doing at the very least.
Yeah. And that's why I think for you and I specifically, because we have this well-rounded education, we were very well educated, we understand everything that's happening around us, and we're not like fearful of it because we get it. We're not just taking anybody's word for it. We fully understand what's happening. And there's a piece that comes with that. There's a negative side to that, is like having too much knowledge is like very depressing.
100%.
I would love to be ignorant sometimes.
Same.
I missed when I knew less, but I wouldn't change that. Like I would rather know more than less.
I agree. I talk about that all the time. I've talked about it on this podcast. The allegory of the tree of knowledge is, what it means to grow up. And I talk with my students all the time about the fact that I am providing you with an insight into your existence that is going to bring with it a lot of depression. The more you know about the reality of your world and all of its problems, the more depressing your life becomes. Like there is a blissful ignorance to childhood that I am actively working to undo. I am giving you the apple from the tree of knowledge, and Adam and Eve live a life of pain and suffering on earth because they learned.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. So Miss Chase goes, "Are you through?"
Are we through?
Are we through? And Corey's like, "No. As a matter of fact, I'm not. I don't think we need geography either." And Miss Chase says, "This is a school. What should we do here?" And Corey's like, "I think we should sit around, talk about whatever we want."
Sorry.
"And you should make us cupcakes." The nerve, the audacity. This boy.
He's very bold.
So bold.
To be so bold to think that, first of all, that everybody in the classroom wants to hear what he has to say. Because I've had those kids in class where I'm like, you really think you're the shit, don't you? That everybody cares about what you have to say at all times.
So at this point, I'm like, oh, this is a dream, because Miss Chase is like, Corey Matthews, you are so right. And Corey's like, Sean, wake up. I fixed everything. And Miss Chase is like, thank you for stopping me from wasting my entire life. I mean, I would have ended up just like Mr. Feeny, who believes in geography and mathematics and all that other garbage you don't need. Here. And she just like turns around and has an entire tray of cupcakes. And she's like, why don't you pass these out to everybody? And Corey's like, when did you bake these? And Miss Chase is like, just this second. So I was like, dream, right?
Yeah, that was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, this is a dream now.
Minkus goes, I most heartily object to this flagrant desecration of the Temple of Knowledge. 2 backup words of the day. Flagrant and desecration. Awesome words. Miss Chase says, stuff it, nerd boy. Wow. And
I felt the offense right there.
wow. A teacher.
Well, this is exactly what Corey would want the teacher to say.
Exactly. So Feeny arrives at the door. He's like, Mr. Matthews, who's the new teacher? And Corey's like, Karen. Feeny's like, Karen? Corey's like, yeah, we're on a first name basis. Feeny goes, Cozy.
That's an amazing response that I was not expecting from Mr. Feeny. Cozy. I like he's suggesting that Corey should never feel comfortable around Mr. Feeny.
I love it. I really do. I love it. Maybe I'm sick, but I do like the idea of having a little bit of fear for your teacher. Like, yeah. I don't know.
I think it's good to have fear in some teachers and then feel a little bit more comfortable in others, because you can't be fearful the whole day.
That's true.
I definitely was fearful of some teachers and then not in others.
Yeah. No, you're so right. You need that one teacher that you scared, and then you need that other teacher that's like, come here. What happened?
Exactly.
What did he do to you?
Yeah, you need to confide.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit of I think the kids are a little scared of me.
You are not the confiding teacher. You're definitely not.
No, some of them do. Some of them do confide in me.
Okay.
Shut up. Some of them.
No, I get it. Yeah. Those that can kind of break through the barrier that is you're like, okay, cool, come in.
Yeah.
Under my wing.
There are certain things that I'm like, oh yeah, like I would stop everything for you. But then some of them, I think they can sense that like I'm on their parents' side. Like, I'm not on a team with you. I'm on a team with your mom. Corey says, and we're not taking that geography test either. In fact, we've done away with geography. No one needs it. And Feeny's like, you must think you've died and gone to heaven. And Corey's like, yep. No offense, but you could learn a lot about teaching from Karen. Feeny's like, well, I guess I've been an ogre all these years. What was I thinking? Corey's like, nobody knows. But all that stress you put on us probably just bounced back and made you sick. Karma. What goes around and around. Feeny throws a cupcake at Sean. Sean turns around and he's like, cut it out, Corey. And Corey's like, that wasn't me, that was Feeny. And Sean's like, Mr. Feeny, talk about a sick joke. And Corey's like, what do you mean? He's standing right here. And Sean's like, oh, nurse. So Sean can't see Feeny. Feeny says, Sean can't see me, Mr. Matthews. And Corey says, why not? And Feeny says, because he's not the one responsible. And Corey says, responsible for what? And Feeny says, for killing me.
Dun, dun, dun.
I died in the hospital.
Ah!
Corey's like, what? Feeny's like, I'm dead, Mr. Matthews, thanks to you. And then we get Corey in bed, in his bedroom, talking in his sleep, going, don't die, Mr. Feeny, I didn't mean to kill you. Oh man, Eric, I just dreamed I killed Mr. Feeny and it came back to haunt me. It was terrible. Eric. And then he looks over at Eric's bed and Feeny's in Eric's bed. Ah! What are you doing here? Feeny's like, I'm memorizing the dictionary, Mr. Matthews.
I love that that's what Corey thinks he does, like in his free time.
That's one thing this show does very well, is like how the characters see each other is so accurate.
It's so good.
Like when Sean is impersonating Minkus, insulting himself, like the way that it's so good.
It is good. It really just like adds that layer to character development of like not only understanding characters, but understanding how characters see other characters. It's so important in this season because it's the first one and we're all getting to know them. It really like makes us feel like we know them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like they're real people.
Yes.
So Corey's like, Mr. Feeny, I just woke up. You can't be here anymore. And Feeny's like, I can be anywhere I want. I'm dead. Corey's like, you're not dead. You can't be dead. I only wanted you to have the sniffles. And Feeny goes, it started with the sniffles. And then he walks through the wall. Ghost. So then we're in the kitchen and Corey's sitting at the table, like bags under his eyes with a pot of coffee sitting on the table and a cup of coffee in his hands.
Like it's a whiskey neat.
And Alan comes down, looking great, by the way. I was like, oh, Alan.
What was he
He
wearing?
just had like sweatpants and a t-shirt, but he just looked like, I was like,
Okay, Alan.
okay, Alan. Like it was very like
Like,
Brooklyn hipster. Like,
you see why Amy married him for his body.
oh yeah. But his style was very timeless too. It was
Yeah,
like, he just
yeah.
looked good. And Alan's like, Corey, you look terrible. And Corey's like, coffee. And Alan's like, what are you doing with coffee? And Corey's like, I always drink coffee after I kill a man. And Alan's like, Mr. Feeney's in the hospital because of a bad appendix. No matter what you wished, you had nothing to do with it. Corey's like, but how come I can't get him out of my mind? Why am I seeing him everywhere? And Alan's like, because you feel guilty. Corey's like, because I wished he'd get sick. And Alan's like, yeah, why'd you do that? Corey's like, so I wouldn't have to take his stupid geography test about stuff I'd never need. And Alan's like, yeah, I know how you feel. I had a teacher in 4th grade, Miss Perch. And then he says the line I hate. Now, the name Perch implies that she was a lot better looking than she actually was. Why? Why does your teacher have to be good looking if she's a woman, but not if they're a man? Like, what is it? I went like, why Perch? Because it sounds like perky. Like, what does that even mean?
It's also weird to like think about a 4th grader
Right.
pining over an adult woman.
Right. It's weird. I don't like it. And like, this is the kind of stuff that girls hear and they're like, oh, so I have to be good looking, that's important. Like,
Yeah.
that's a value. And it's a normal one, a one that's like acceptable and okay. Because none of the other characters like jump on him and go like, that's why, like it's just accepted as normal. And I hate that. So of course, like, and this relates to me how? And Alan's like, you know why I'm the manager down at the supermarket? Because when I started out as a box boy, I could add long columns of numbers in my head faster than the cashiers could at the machines. I always told everyone it was a natural gift, but the fact is, I knew it was a gift from Miss Perch. And Corey's like, so why did you feel guilty? And Alan says, well, when she was trying to teach me math, I was the kid in the back of the room always going, I'm never gonna need this. By the time I figured out why I needed it, it was too late to say thank you. Students appreciating their education is just like the easiest way to make me emotional.
Yeah.
So Corey's like, so you're saying Feeny's teaching us stuff now that we're going to need when we're older. And instead of saying thank you, I wished for him to get sick. Is that why I'm having nightmares? I'm realizing right now I love this show because it defends teachers and education
Yeah.
at its core.
Yeah.
And it taught kids to appreciate their teachers and their education. Mm-hmm. Where is the new show that does this? Can we do this again?
Yeah.
Because we need this as a society.
We need this.
We need this. We used to respect teachers. And look, I want to be realistic here. I'm not delusional about the fact that, like, not all teachers are good. Mm-hmm. They aren't. There are some really bad teachers out there. Mm-hmm. There are some teachers that roll into work and roll home and really don't do much and have just been doing it for 20, 30 years and can't get fired because they have tenure. And they're basically just taking advantage of the system. They're in a union. I understand that there are bad teachers. I understand that there are teachers that are inappropriate, that do inappropriate things, that say inappropriate things. There are teachers that are racist. There are teachers that are misogynist. There are teachers that do not accept their students for who they are. But so,
rather than taking kids out of school, like, can we fix those problems?
Yes.
Also,
I think what's making it hard is, like, as a society, I've said this on this pod before, like, we are reevaluating. We are shifting right now. We're in a big transitional period in terms of society, politics, education, what our values are as a country, as a nation, as a culture. Do we have a culture? Like, I think we're all trying to figure that out right now. And that means, like, it's messy. You've got teachers with values that align with one end of the political spectrum. And then you've got, and the people who support that end of the political spectrum think that teacher is awesome and deserves a raise and is great. And then you've got the teacher on the other end of things that's fully empowering and supporting you know, the trans kid in class, for example, and there are a lot of people that support that teacher and think they deserve a raise and they're doing awesome. But then there's the people on the other end of things that think that they should be fired, right? So if we don't have an agreement on what's right and good and true and like, then we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think we're missing that. We're missing some sense, like I don't know if we need a person, I don't know if we need a president, I don't know what we need, but we just need someone to like come in and align everybody and say, this is what we stand for as a country. This is what we believe in as a culture, you know?
I worry that that's going to take like another 9/11. I hate taking it there, but like I don't see another way around it. And that's a horrifying thought.
I feel like we started to get there in the 60s where it was like, we stand for equality. Like, we stand for dignity. And Martin Luther King Jr. was a big one. Like, I think he's like, we need another one of him.
Yep. Yeah. We've been talking about this offline a lot about, like, there's no real, like, role model. And I would say, like, there's no role model for kids, which is true. But there's also no role model for people in general in the States. Like, I don't have a particular role model that, I mean, I have role models personally, but, like, as a society, we don't have like one person or a few people or a group of people that we're like all looking up to and are generally in agreement on. I want that.
I know.
We need that back.
So Alan's like, look, your nightmares are just a manifestation of your guilt. You created them. You can control them. So Corey's like, all right. Alan leaves. Corey looks down into his coffee and Feeny's face is in there. Corey's like, you don't scare me anymore, Mr. Feeny. You're not real. You're just a manifestation of my guilt. And I thought, oh, good word. And Feeny goes, oh, manifestation. I was like, yes, that would be the thing the teacher says. Big word for someone who can barely spell cat. Corey's like, I created him. I can make him go away. And then there's like 8 Feenys sitting all around the kitchen laughing at him. That's CGI. So we're in the hospital. You can tell that like they were excited about the CGI. Like they were like, oh, we have this new technology. Yet let's use it.
Big budget on the last episode.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want the pod to start with that. And then you hear the theme music.
We could do that.
So then we're in the hospital. New set.
Big budget.
Big budget for the finale. Corey comes in. Feeny is in the hospital bed. Feeny's like, Mr. Matthews, what a surprise. Where are your parents? Corey says, they didn't bring me. I took the bus. Actually, they don't even know I'm here. I brought you a germanium. And Feeny says, geranium. And Corey says, didn't I say germanium? And Feeny says, yes, you did. In fact, germanium is a chemical element. Atomic weight 72.59. It's used as a semiconductor.
God, I would never know that.
How do you know that it's 72.59 though? That's a little much, Mr. Feeny.
Yeah. And I'm like, these kids are not learning chemistry, are they? I didn't learn that until I was 15.
Well, there's a school in New York called Basis. And the kids do learn chemistry at like 6th grade. It's crazy.
How do you conceptualize all of that in 6th grade?
Your brain needs to develop to a certain point in order to be able to conceptualize certain concepts. Abstract thinking comes with age. Like you need to grow into that.
Yeah.
So, of course, like your brain must weigh so much. Feeny's like, a geranium is a lovely plant. In California, they can grow to the size of a bush. And then a nurse walks in. And she says, oh, is this your grandson? And Feeny's like, no. Corey's like, no way. Feeny's like, not at all. Corey's like, what he said. And Feeny's like, this is just one of my students, Corey Matthews. Corey, this is Nurse Jill. And Jill says, well, it's nice to see one of your students came to visit you, George.
Oh, not even Minkus visited him?
Yeah, you're right. Well, he was literally ill with worry.
True.
So
I feel like he would take one step in a hospital and be like, get me out of here. I can't.
I need the milk of the puppy.
Yes, he would.
So Corey's like, she calls you by your first name. And Feeny goes, don't blow it for me, you little weasel. So Jill's like, I stashed 2 bottles of that pineapple juice you like in case you and your non-grandson want to have some. Feeny says, I am eternally grateful. He's good at flirting.
He is.
And Jill says, Corey, you stay as long as you like. And if a big dragon in a hat that says head nurse tries to kick you out, you tell her you're a friend of Jill's, okay?
Sweet Nurse Jill.
Sweet Nurse Jill. We love Nurse Jill.
Yeah, we love her.
We get why Feeny's into her.
Yeah.
And Corey's like, okay. And Jill's like, He doesn't say it like that. So Jill says, see you later, George. And Corey's like, she seems nice. Feeny's like, yes, indeed. Very nice. And then Corey's like, did we just have like a guy moment? And Feeny's like, yes, I suppose we did. Why are you here, Mr. Matthews? I mean, a hospital is a very scary place. And Corey's like, I guess I wanted to see with my own eyes that you're okay. And Feeny says, thank you for your good thoughts. And Corey says, and that you're not dead. And Feeny says, oh, I can't die, Mr. Matthews. I have too much work left undone. Too many students left untaught.
How will he know it's enough?
He's like, I can't die because I have unfinished business. There is more for me to do on this earth.
Yeah.
I think he's speaking to something that feels true to me, that like when you die, you feel like you're done.
Yes, I don't think that I've ever felt that way.
You've never felt like you're complete, I hope.
I feel like at this point in my life, I feel like I've done a lot of the things that I wanted to do. So if it were to happen tomorrow, like I wouldn't want it to happen because there are still things I want to do, but I would be like, okay. I can't help this. It's happening.
I think if everything goes the way I believe it will, I will feel like I'm done. I will feel like the world is moving into a chapter that is not meant for me.
Wow. That's a better answer than mine.
So Corey says, like me, like he's a student that Feeny can't leave untaught. And obviously we know where this series goes. So I was really getting deep with this, and I was like, yeah, there are so many more memories for them to make together. Like there are so many more lessons for Feeny to teach Corey. So Feeny says, especially you. In a strange way, you've kept me alive.
Oh. Yeah, I got emotional on that one.
And to have this happen in the final episode of season 1, it's perfect because Feeny almost dies, but he doesn't. Because we have so much more life to live with him. There's 2 roads that have diverged in a wood, and Feeny could have died and we could have ended here, right? Or we could like keep going, Thelma.
This show is so good.
The show is so good. Corey says, I'm glad because there still might be some stuff you're going to teach me that I'm going to need someday. Feeny says, like what? And Corey says, like, say I'm walking down the street and some guy comes up to me and says, what's the atomic weight of geranium? Thanks to you, I'll be able
I missed that part.
Geranium. He goes, thanks to you, I'll be able to say, that's a plant, you idiot.
Yay, you learned something. Yay.
So Nurse Jill comes in and says, dragon alert, lay low. Corey says, maybe I'd better go so I don't get Nurse Jill in trouble. And Feeny says, thank you very much for coming, Mr. Matthews. You've made me feel much better. And Corey says, I feel better too. And then he's about to leave, and then he turns back and he says, Mr. Feeny, thank you. And Feeny says, for what? And Corey says, I don't know yet. Tears.
Yeah.
So then we're in the patio, and Alan comes over and says, hey, Corey, what are you doing? And Corey says, I'm trying to fix Mr. Feeny's dumb duck, because the duck fell over earlier, so he's trying to fix it. And Corey says he's coming home tomorrow, and Alan says, that's nice. Looks like it could use some bracing. So Alan goes to get his tools for that. And Feeny comes out, and Corey says, Mr. Feeny, you're home early. And Feeny says, well, I got most of my strength back. Besides, they replaced Nurse Jill with Nurse Larry. I figured it was time to leave. And Corey says, I'm trying to fix your duck. And Feeny says, yes, so I see. Thank you. Why don't you take a break and help me plant this? And he has the geranium. And Corey says, you're putting my puny plant in the ground? And Feeny says, your plant, though immature and undeveloped, has within it the potential to grow and flower. With the help of a proper gardener. You cry?
I cry.
Corey says, you think so? And Feeny says, oh, yes. As long as no one wishes it ill. I liked that ending. I wonder if later that ever comes back. Like, I wonder if we ever get a reference to that plant that was planted. Like, I could see even in the college years, Corey being like, do you remember when I gave you that geranium? It's one of those, it's done in a way where like you didn't have to see the episode to understand, but and then you planted it in your garden and that will be really sweet if it comes back and we're like, we remember you were the germanium. All right. So then we get a button, Sean, and Corey and Topanga. It's so silly. They really just wanted to use this CGI one last time. So
well, here's the thing. I get it. They had a budget and they had to use all of it because if they didn't use all of it, they would not get it for the next time. So they had to use it.
So they're trying to light a light bulb with their minds. Okay. So Corey says, you're saying we can light that light bulb without any electricity? And Topanga says, the greatest power company of all time is the human mind. And Mika says, apparently Sean didn't pay his bill. So Sean says, those are cute last words. And Topanga's like, shh, let's focus our psychic energies on lighting the bulb. Mika is like, the only way to demonstrate the power of their selfish minds is to have them concentrate on something they really want to see happen. So they concentrate and Minkus disappears.
Excellent episode, excellent season. I remember as a kid watching this show, I cared less for the earlier seasons and more for the college seasons, which I'll probably still feel the same way. But I have a massive appreciation for the earlier seasons now and the very special relationship that Feeny and Corey have and develop over the season.
First of all, this show is it's on teachers' side. It is, like I said earlier, like it's trying to get kids to appreciate their education and their teachers and respect their teachers, right? And it understands that kids are not coming from a place where they understand why their teachers are making the choices that they're making, but it's trying to help them do so, you know? So as a teacher, I was watching it, seeing that was the purpose, the MO of the writers. And I was feeling so warm and cozy and just so supported by them. And I was like, oh my God, I want to unpack this. And then also as a teacher / writer, I was like, oh my God, I could totally write for a show like this because I have this insight, this knowledge of what it is to teach. And I have lessons that I would like to teach kids through entertainment, you know? And then I was like, oh no, that's so much responsibility. Oh my God, these writers are amazing because I don't think I could do it. That's too much. Like you give me 22 lessons. Like if you told me you have the attention of 16.4 million kids all across America and eventually internationally, what are those 22 lessons that you would want to teach them? I would implode with inadequacy. I would have no idea. What would be your number one lesson that you'd want to teach kids if you had the attention of 16.4 million, sometimes 21 million kids?
That is not an easy question to answer.
No, it's not. Can you think of any? It doesn't have to be number one.
I think if I had to give a message, what comes to mind is question everything. Always. Don't take anything at face value and like come to understand it for yourself, not just take a piece of information and say, well, this person said it, so it's got to be true. Always question it. My
number one message, I think, would be treat others the way they want to be treated. That like step one in life when you're a kid is treat others the way you want to be treated, because when you're emerging, when your consciousness is emerging, it is profound to realize that there are other people that have thoughts and feelings and are as complicated as you are, right? You think your whole world is just you, and then you're like, oh my God, you can feel pain? Oh, you know?
Yeah.
And so you treat others the way you would want to be treated. But when you get older, there's another step to that, and that's treat others the way they want to be treated.
Yeah. What I'll take away for myself is to maintain this curiosity of wanting to learn more, because there's this misconception that after you graduate from school that you're done learning, but we're always learning, always, and we should not be afraid to learn from other people and not feel like, you know, there's a pressure for me to become a leader in my career and in my life, and like that is something that I'm learning, but that doesn't mean that I am no longer a student. So this is a reminder to always be learning, so that I can be the best leader that I can be.
My takeaway is I'm going to remember that my students can't possibly understand right now the importance of what I'm teaching them and what they're learning from their other teachers too. That I have to just kind of like swallow some of the feelings of just feeling unappreciated or disrespected sometimes, and just understand that it's a long game. And like later they will think back and things will click for them. And it'll probably be the moments that I don't even think now are that impactful, you know, like moments that I say things off the cuff, or I'm doing something I'm not even thinking I'm teaching them anything, or that it's an impactful moment. But later they'll come back to me and be like, oh my God, you said this one thing once. And I'll be like, I don't even remember saying that, you know, and they'll be like, and it changed everything. And I, you know, so yeah, just kind of having faith in the process, and faith, and this is like maybe a little spiritual, but like faith in the fact that I don't have as much say or choice in my life. I'm one thread in like a web of existence, and I'm kind of just fulfilling a role in a greater network. All right. Well, that's it for the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Season 1 is done. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break, but we will be back in a couple months. Rate and review us. 5 stars, please. Follow us at Boy Meets Wine Podcast. The name of the wine we had today was
Purple Power Mead by Roy Black.
And next time we're back on air, we will be talking about Season 2, Episode 1, called Back to School. Bye!